Hey everyone, welcome to your video for week 11. Not a ton of lecture this week. You mostly have some reading to do, and they're more sort of creative pieces or non-traditionally academic pieces than you've been studying so far. And the goal was to get you thinking about how all the things that we've been talking about so far, all the themes and sort of major concepts and this sort of thing, can be found in non-academic sources, right? Because this course really did have to do with the world around you that you're living in, right? So I don't have a ton of lecture or sort of anything to point out on that front, but what I did want to talk to you about a little bit was the Knowledge Project. I realize that the notes say that it will be posted, and we won't be doing that. That was an error, so not to sweat that part. This is sort of in lieu of like a final or a take-home final, so be aware of that. Right, take it seriously, because I'm still looking to see what you can do with the knowledge that you've been gaining all semester. So the first two questions are really linked to the sort of creative aspect of this particular week and the things that you're reading. It's a creative application of what you've learned. So it's open. The Knowledge Project's open, and you should be able to have a good look at it. If you have questions, you can email me, and I'll be on it this weekend, making sure that I'm checking, because probably a lot of you will work on it over the weekend. But the first two, have fun with it. Think through all the things that we've been thinking about. There are two scenarios that require you to apply what you've learned. And so to be thinking of yourself sort of in the world, and as somebody who throughout the course we've been talking about how frustrating it can be and how overwhelming it can be sometimes. And so these first two questions really do ask you to be a participant, right? I'm asking you to apply everything you've learned and problem solve. And this is to get us sort of in the practice of thinking as problem solvers and teammates with the natural world, and how can we best manage this relationship between human civilization and sort of capitalism and globalization, like the world that we live in as it's currently operative, with the needs of the natural world, right? How do we manage those two things? And so these first two questions are designed with that in mind, and putting you in the position of like, okay, if you were, because we talk all the time about corporations, right? And they're doing this and they're doing that, and the devastating sort of effects of decisions that are made by people who seem to be removed from the places that bear the consequences often of their decisions, right? So exploitative mining, for example, or whatever it might be. And so this, asks you to really put yourself in the position of a decision maker and to apply some of what you learned. How could you best problem solve the scenarios that have been presented to you while considering everything that you've learned and all of the stakeholders? So that's sort of the point. Then there's three questions for you to choose from in the second half. Everybody does the first two questions. There's three questions in the second half. I'm sorry that my phone is ringing. Three questions in the second half that you may choose two from. And they're sort of more traditional sort of, take-home exam type question. So, again, if you have questions, you can certainly get a hold of me. But I think once you have a look at the exam, you might be kind of scared. Don't be. I hope that you have fun with those first two questions. I use questions like that for this exam, this sort of either the take-home final or as part of the final evaluation of the semester when I teach this class all the time. And typically, the answers that I get are the papers, sort of they're like small papers, I guess, that I get back. The responses to those two questions are so creative that they blow my mind, right? People do such a great job of them, because it's a different way of engaging what you know, and it's an opportunity for you to really kind of practice vicariously the kinds of values and principles that we've been talking about all semester. And it's a way for you to sort of weed through what it's like in the larger scheme of our world. How can we navigate this better than we're doing now? So I hope that you enjoy that part, even though I know schoolwork, it's maybe not that fun, but I hope that you'll enjoy this part of the sort of thinking through creatively. Okay, now I've got this knowledge. We live in this world where like climate change is a real problem. We've got species going extinct every other 5 seconds, right? Where we're facing some of these things in a really profound and immediate kind of way. So I hope that as you move through this and sort of do the work of sorting out how would you do it? What would you do? How can we make better decisions? That you will find that you've learned something really valuable about this. So, and how to apply what you've learned, right? The practical application piece, I think, of our education is really important. This is going to allow you an opportunity to practically apply some of the things that you know and have some practice doing. The last 3 questions, like I said, they're just testing your knowledge of the material that you've learned, so I'm hoping that that won't be a problem. Let me know if you have any troubles. We're not posting them online. A few of you have gotten in touch with me about a few different assignments. Either you've had trouble uploading or you're wondering about feedback. The feedback for your book critique should be coming to you here this weekend. The TA did not realize that she needed to send that along to you, so that is coming, and I'm sort of going over everything as I always do, just to have a look and see what's happening. Some people had some questions, again, about like form marks or this kind of thing, so I'm also having a look at that, and you should see any changes reflected in the next maybe 24 hours. So have a quick look and see, because a couple of emails that I didn't get back to is because I knew that there were some grades I was going to change, and there were a couple of accidents, I think, about entering those grades as well. So please don't panic if I haven't gotten back to you on that stuff. Have a look at your grades, and if there is a problem after the fact, we can sort it out together. And then for the journal evaluation, there are not any very specific rules for what I'm expecting. You have those 6 questions that are to guide your evaluation. So you don't need to write question 1, and your answer. It's still an academic paper, right? So you need to be mindful of having it nicely organized, but it's a journal evaluation, so you're going to be using informal language, like the writing in the first person. But those are the things you need to touch on, and you need to be looking for in your weekly journals. For question 1, for example, like how often did you kind of touch on that throughout, and do you think you did a good job of addressing those things in your reflections? And for each of those questions, be mindful of them. Like I said, you don't have to say question 1, this is the answer, but in your evaluation, be sure to know whether you were able to answer that question from your journals. Is that something that you did well or didn't do well, or considered or didn't consider, whatever the case might be. So I would say that can help to guide the framework of your paper, so that there should, as each sort of section of your paper transitions, though that can be part of one section, answering that question. And as you continue to talk about, whatever it is that you're thinking or reflecting on, whatever comes up as you look at those journals, just be sure that you include a little section where you talk about whatever is mentioned in each question. But I'm not required or expecting you to answer each question in any formal sort of sense. But it's a guide. Those are the things you should be looking for. Those are the kinds of questions you want to be answering in your evaluation. But it's the same as any other paper, right? With the research paper, you also have some pretty big questions to answer. Because that's why you're researching, you're researching a particular topic. This is kind of the same. This is providing the framework and the guide. If you have questions about that, please let me know again. And if you are struggling a little bit or need a little extra time or whatever, great, we'll sort it out. So just be watching your grades, the things that you have sent me questions on or whatever. If you haven't received a personal response yet, watch your email and watch your grades, because I'm going through, that's what I'm doing right now, is going through all of that stuff to make sure, and I have been, so I'll be sending emails out and updating all of that online. So get a hold of me if you need to. Otherwise, have a really good week. I do hope that you enjoy this knowledge project. I absolutely love it, and I get such good responses from it, and I'm always amazed by just how creative my students are. So I really am looking forward to reading them. As I said, we will not be sharing them with other classmates, so please don't sweat that. I don't know what happened, or that little piece still got left in our course, but we're not doing that, so don't worry. If you have had troubles with your book critique, like if you don't have a mark yet or something, it's because it either couldn't be opened or wasn't uploaded to the right spot or whatever. So again, I'm just in the business of sorting that out. I've been sending emails out to people all week about your thing is open, can you please resubmit, or the file was corrupt, or we couldn't open it, or whatever it might be. So if you haven't received a mark, that's why. And so just watch your email, because you should get something today telling you how come you don't have a mark, and what to do about that, so that we can get your stuff graded. So take care, have a great week. We're winding down the semester, so I hope that I hope that you find, as you write this, work on this knowledge project, that actually this semester's been rewarding for you, and that you've learned a lot of stuff that is useful and interesting, and kind of does make you look at the world in a different kind of way. It makes you think about so many of the crises that we're facing, where globalization is concerned, and how that impacts the natural world and our relationship to it and how we live on it. That can make you feel like you're able to be a better steward of the earth, and also an agent for change, right? And an activist in your own right, however that might be. Take care, have a good week. Spring is here, yay. So for all of the climate change and whatever, here we are entering a new season, and at this point, knock on wood, I sort of think that 1780 should be great for. So enjoy the weekend. Let me know if you need anything, and I will see you next week. Take care.